Hey everyone. So this past weekend and over the last few days, the Hall of Fame class of 2017 was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. So obviously there were some great players in that class. Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne going in together was fantastic. Dave Anderchuk absolutely deserved it. Mark Recchi, one of my all-time favorite players, fantastic to see him get in. But it got me thinking about players currently in the NHL who will be Hall of Famers. And that's a pretty long list and involved a lot of speculation. So I just looked at guys who would be Hall of Famers right now if they retired today, just called it quits, they would make it into the Hall of Fame. So I'm not talking about guys who need more years and more years of production, because there are a lot of guys in this league that are well on their way to being Hall of Famers. You know, John Tavares, Carey Price, Steven Stamkos, maybe even Nikita Kucherov. These guys are well on their way to being Hall of Fame players, but they're not there yet. They don't have the longevity, they don't have the games played or the points or stuff like that. So I only looked at guys who, if they retired right now, today, would be Hall of Famers. And now, some of these are sort of borderline. Some of them are shoo-ins, but some of them it's more my opinion, and I'd like to see them get in. And there may be guys that I missed, too. So if you think I missed anybody, absolutely feel free to comment. And there are some guys that were borderline that maybe I don't have going in, but are really close, or other people think they are going in. So Justin Williams is a guy. He's got over 1,000 games played. He's got almost 700 career points, but I don't. He's really known for his playoff performances and all the Game 7 winners, and he does have 3 cups, which would help a lot, but I don't know if 695 points in the regular season points in his career is enough to be Hall of Fame level. I kept him out. I don't see him going in. But there are other guys too, that certainly could be considered, but I don't. I was on the fence about guys like Ryan Getzlaf. He's right on the fence. Now he's only 32, so he's still got plenty of years to go to build his Hall of Fame resume. And if he has another 4 or 5 productive seasons, then his point totals could get up to where I think he gets in. Same thing with Corey Perry, although I think Perry's on the downswing, and I don't think he ever gets in because his peak was certainly Hall of Fame level, but his peak wasn't very long. He only scored 50 goals that one season, so he wasn't that great that long. So these are just guys that I think if they retired this very second and just called it quits, they would be Hall of Famers. So let's see. First one, Henrik Lundqvist, probably the best goalie of this generation. Absolutely a Hall of Famer. He's played 757 games. He's got 413 career wins, a .233 goals against average, and a .919 save percentage. Also has 62 career shutouts. Those are absolutely all Hall of Fame numbers. He's in without a doubt. He is the generational goalie of this generation. Sidney Crosby, absolutely in at this point. He's got 3 Stanley Cups. And I'll say, Stanley Cups do play an important role, even though they're more team stats than player stats. It's a lot easier to get in when you have a lot of Stanley Cups. If you have multiple cups, but maybe not the greatest point totals, you can still get in. Whereas if you can have a lot of points, but if not having a cup sometimes makes it harder to get in. So Crosby's absolutely in with 3 cups. He's got 388 career goals. He's over 1,000 points already. He has 1,042 points in only 802 games. So he's way over a point per game. He's easily in. He doesn't have to play. He's only 30. He doesn't have to play another game. He's in. Evgeny Malkin, he's in 726 games played, 335 goals, 518 assists for 853 points. Also, well over a point per game, 3 Stanley Cups, 09, and then the last 2 back-to-back, 14-15, or 15-16. No, 16-17, wow. I can't keep the years straight here. The years are flying by so fast. 16-17, the last 2. Pittsburgh's won. So Malkin, much like Crosby, over a point per game player, 3 Stanley Cups, absolutely in, one of the best players of this generation. Next, the best goal scorer of this generation, absolutely in, one of the best goal scorers in NHL history, Alex Ovechkin. 940 games played, he's got 571 goals. That's just goals. Another 483 assists for 1,054 points. No Stanley Cups, but that does not matter in Ovechkin's case. He's an all-time player, all-time goal scorer, easily first ballot Hall of Famer. It's not even close. He's got 940 games played, so he's going to get to 1,000 pretty soon. Already over 1,000 points. Shoe-in. Next up, Zdeno Chara. If you don't think Zdeno Chara is a Hall of Fame defenseman, you haven't been watching hockey. Because Chara, in his prime, was the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL. And he resurrected a Bruins franchise that was awful. Through most of the early 2000s, mid-2000s, the Bruins were terrible. They were an awful hockey team. Chara gets here in 06, I think it was, and that's when the rebuild starts. And he didn't do it by himself, certainly. There were other great players involved, but Chara was really the cornerstone and the backbone of the resurgence of the Bruins franchise. And through his prime, from 2008 through 2014, really, he was the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL. And he put up decent points too. On top of that, he had a monster slap shot. He had a good better offensive skills than people give him credit for. He's just known for being really big and a shutdown guy. He's played over 1,300 career games. He's scored 189 career goals, 420 assists for 609 points. Over 600 points as a defenseman is absolutely fantastic, while being a Norris Trophy winner and a shutdown defensive defenseman. Also won the Cup in 2011 and went to the Cup again in 2013. He's absolutely one of the top defensemen of this era of hockey, and he absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame. Henrik Zetterberg, another easy Hall of Famer, over 1,000 games, 915 career points. Red Wings his whole career. He wasn't there for the 2002 Cup. That was a year before he joined the Red Wings, I believe, but he won a cup in 2008 when they beat the Penguins. Just all-time great player, great two-way player too. Not just an offensive point producer, also very good in his own end. All-around great player, captain now of the Red Wings. Don't know how much longer he has left in the league, but he absolutely is a Hall of Famer. Roberto Luongo. Luongo is known a lot for his failures in the playoffs, especially, and never being able to win a Stanley Cup. Never getting Vancouver over the hump and to win a cup with them. But people forget how great of a goalie he really is, and was for really his whole career. He's one of the best, at least regular season goalies of all time. 974 games played, 456 career wins, a goals against of 2.50, and a .919 save percentage for his career. 73 shutouts on top of that. Luongo gets a lot of hate because of his playoff performances and failing in the playoffs and coming up short. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's one of the all-time best goalies in the NHL and certainly one of the best goalies of this generation, along with Henrik Lundqvist. So Luongo is absolutely a Hall of Famer and deserves to be. Patrick Marleau. There seems to be some debate about him on whether he's a Hall of Famer or not. Just look, 516 goals. There you go, Hall of Fame. Over 1,000 points. Over 1,500 career games played. 1,095 points. 516 of them goals. Absolutely a Hall of Famer. Spent almost his whole career with the Sharks. Now he's in Toronto. He's going for that cup. He's 38 now, I believe. He's got maybe 1 or 2 years left. He's going for that cup in Toronto. Now, this one, he's not playing. His career's over, but he's technically still on the roster. So, Marian Hossa from Chicago, and I'll just tell you, Chicago has a lot of these guys, Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famers. Marian Hossa, over 1,300 career games played, 525 career goals, 609 career assists, for over 1,100 career points, 1,134, 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks on top of that. Absolutely a Hall of Famer, one of the best players of this generation. I think one of the most overlooked players of this generation because he always kind of played second fiddle on those Blackhawks teams. It was all about Kane and Taves and Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook. And people kind of forgot about guys like Patrick Sharp and Marian Hossa. And Hossa, I think, deserved a lot more credit than he got, and he's an all-time great player. The next two I'm going to do together, and I really struggled with this. Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves, if they retired today, would they be Hall of Famers? And it's really, they're so borderline and it's so close, but I put them in because they both have 3 cups, and Stanley Cups gets you, added points as far as going into the Hall of Fame goes. They're both still fairly young, Kane's only 29, Taves is maybe, I forget, 30 maybe, so these guys are still so young and they have such a long way to go. They could both, conceivably play for another 10 years. Are they already Hall of Famers? Well, Kane has 769 points in 758 games. He's a point-per-game player. He doesn't have 1,000 points yet or 1,000 games, but he has 3 cups and he's over a point per game, so I'm going to say he would get in, and he's a Hall of Famer. Taves, 735 games played, only 633 points, but he has 3 cups. I would say he would get in. I think there's an infatuation with those Blackhawks teams. We saw it when they named the 100 greatest NHL players, and then they got to the modern era, and it seemed like just a sea of Blackhawks players. There's an infatuation with those teams and that dynasty that won 3 Stanley Cups. And these guys will get added points because of that, and I think they would get in. Now, I think they're absolutely well on their way. Come the end of their careers, assuming they play, 8, 9 more years, both of them, they're certainly well on their way to being Hall of Famers easily, but whether they are yet right now was a tough question for me, but I'm going to say yes. And then the last one from the Blackhawks, Duncan Keith, he's an automatic in already. Obviously he has 3 cups along with the rest of them, but 931 games, 519 points as a defenseman. Also a very good defensive defenseman. So he for me is a no-brainer. He's one of the best defensemen of this era of hockey and absolutely belongs in. Eric Stahl, 1,028 games played, 860 career points, and he did win the 1 Stanley Cup in 2006 with the Carolina Hurricanes. He was a little borderline for me, but I think the 860 points will be enough. Also, the Stanley Cup win helps. He over 500 assists in his career. I think he He probably barely gets in and is a borderline guy, but I think he gets in. Really, really good player, especially in Carolina for a really long time. Another player on the Minnesota Wild, and this was I'm still up to this second. Should I cross him off or leave him on? Ryan Suter, really underrated shutdown defenseman, really defensive-minded defenseman. 930 career games played, 71 goals, 381 assists. So that's where he might get a lot of help as far as making the Hall of Fame. 452 career points is pretty good for a defensive defenseman. I also think he's going to be given credit for how good of a shutdown guy he was and how he would just wipe the other team's best player off the map. So I think he gets in, even though it's really, really close. Jaromir Jagr, easily all-time great right there, easily gets in. Over 1,700 career games played, over 1,900 career points, well over a point per game. 766 career goals is all-time. Over 1,100 career assists. 2 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. Do I even need to say anything else? Just Jagr's an easy in. Joe Thornton, another guaranteed easy in. Over 1,400 career games played, over 1,000 assists, with another 386 goals on top of that for over 1,400 career points. No brainer, Joe Thornton's a guaranteed Hall of Famer. And then the last two, the Sedin sisters, Sedin brothers, still hate them from that 2011 Cup final, but they're absolutely Hall of Famers. They're all-time great players. Both have over 1,200 career games. Henrik, the setup guy, more of an assist guy, only 239 goals, but 788 assists in his career. 1,027 points. Without a doubt, easily Hall of Famer. And then Daniel, more of the goal scorer, 373 goals, 621 assists for 994 points. He'll reach 1,000 points this year. Both of them absolutely Hall of Famers. They should go in together. I think they will go in together easily for me. So those are the guys that I think are Hall of Famers if their careers ended right now this second. There are certainly other players well on their way, just not there yet. Need a little more longevity, a few more points. But those are who I think get in. Some of them are a little borderline, but I think everyone on this list, I think, should get in. If I missed anyone glaringly, let me know. Absolutely comment. It's possible. I just looked through the rosters and picked guys that I thought were Hall of Famers. I think the toughest omission from this list for me was Patrice Bergeron. But defensive forwards kind of get a bad pull of the straw, so to say, when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Bergeron doesn't have. I don't think he has the point total yet, but he's only 32. Say he plays another 5 years of 50, 60 points a year. Also being a Selke Trophy candidate in those years. There's a chance he gets in. I don't think he's there yet, though. I don't think the point total's high enough. While he's been an all-time Bruin great and one of the most important players in franchise history, and one of the most, at least for this era, probably the best one of the best players in franchise history, along with Chara. I don't know if he has a point total yet. So he was the toughest one to leave off this list. There are other great players too that I think are close, but need a few more years of production before they get there. And then there are some young players who are well on their way. They just haven't done it long enough. Guys in their mid to late 20s who just need, another, 7-8 years of production before they're absolutely Hall of Fame ready. So that's my list. Like, comment, share, subscribe, spread the word, keep this channel growing. Like us on social media. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to you guys soon.